Well, greetings again, everybody, the thirsty listeners of Srimad Bhagavatam, the 10th canto, Braja Leela of Sri Krishna. In the last episode, we dealt with some wonderful chapters, the Venu Gita, which describes the gopis' descriptions of Krishna as he goes to the forest in the daytime. And then Krishna's stealing of the cowherd damsel's garments while they were bathing in the river and worshipping Katyayani Devi to get Krishna as their husband. Then Krishna's glorification of the trees. And then in the last chapter, the salvation of the Brahmin's wives. So today we shall continue excuse me, with the Govardhan Leela. It takes a few chapters 24 through to 27. And we should probably get through that in this session. So before I begin, I'll say a Mangala Charanam. Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavangscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitantam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Visakhamritascha Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet Om Namo Bhagavati Vasudevaya. So, Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 24. It starts with Bhagavan Api, even Bhagavan. Sri Shuka said, thus the illustrious in Braja stayed with Baladeva, where he once surveyed the cowherds eager sacrifice to make for the rain giver, mighty Indra's sake. Although almighty and omniscient, the soul of all, he perceived their intent. To Nanda and the peers, respectfully, he raised some fine points of inquiry. So Krishna says, what is this commotion, O Father dear? What undertaking is going on here? By whom? For whom? For what is thus performed, this sacrifice? I fain would be informed. I am greatly desirous to hear. Please speak, and I will lend a willing ear. For things may be tacitly understood, but to keep secrets ill becomes the good. But those who view with equanimity, impartial in friendship and enmity, and see all souls as equally divine, make no distinction between thine and mine. A stranger might be viewed with enmity, a friend is like one's own self said to be, or knowing or not knowing what they do, the common people diverse acts pursue. The knowing ones their objects do fulfill, the unknowing remain unsuccessful. Such being so, let this act be described. Has it been by authority prescribed, or is it by tradition long maintained? This I would know, then let it be explained. Sri Nanda said, illustrious Indra, Parjanya height, has clouds as emanations of his might to please all creatures and the life maintain. The clouds shower goodness like milky rain. Dear child, both we and all others implore his grace and the cloud compeller adore. With fire rites and offerings of grain, he sends his discharge in the form of rain. The remnants of sacrifice life sustains. There is fulfillment of life's threefold aims. Parjanya is the cause of man's success, and does with pious fruits the people bless. Both by tradition and authority, men perform this holy ceremony, and those who out of spite this rite transgress, or lust or greed, gain not auspiciousness. Sri Shuka said, thus hearing what noble Nanda had said, with other cowherds by the elders led, Lord Indra's pride, intending to provoke, Lord Keshava unto his father spoke. The illustrious one said, a creature's life from past action proceeds. His death is also determined by deeds. Of sorrow, joy, fear, and welfare, the cause from deeds derived, and actions stringent laws. Now, if there were a ruler absolute who grants to the performer diverse fruit, he must obliged upon the agent be, but not when there is no activity. With living things, what has Indra to do, whose state each from their own actions ensue? Man's inherent nature cannot be changed by him, since Providence has all arranged. Inherent nature doth all creatures bind, to inherent nature all are confined. Here all the gods, mankind, and demons bold are by their inherent nature controlled. The bodies of creatures, both low and high, are gained and forsaken by destiny. The stranger, enemy, the lord, the friend, the teacher, all on destiny depend. Therefore, to worship acts one should commit, with which inherent nature does befit, and which provides easy prosperity. That is the worshipable deity. One benefactor doth the life sustain, to go elsewhere in the pursuit of gain were like a faithless wife who doth resort, forsaking her lord, to a new consort. Vipras by Vedic study life sustain, the martial princes by just rule maintain, the merchants by trade sustenance provide, and Sudras serve the twice-born void of pride. Four duties are the merchants said to be: agriculture, commerce, and usury, and, as in our case, tending of the kind, in which duty we spend all of our time. From Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas evolves the world, which is maintained and then dissolves. And when Rajas rises to dominate, creatures combine and more creatures create. Impelled by Rajas, clouds pour down the rain, and do with water all subjects maintain. From whence sustenance and welfare proceed? Of what use is great Indra, or what need? We do not where the people flock abide, nor in hamlets and in nice dwellings reside, but we, dear Father, in the forest roam, and in woods and on hillsides make our home. Therefore, sacrifice let us undertake, for the cows, Brahmins, and the mountains' sake. Let articles for Indra's right gathered be to this sacrificial act transferred. Let many fine comestibles be made, Let soup and cakes and sweet rice be displayed. Let all the milky produce of the kine be brought here for this sacrifice divine. The Brahmins should the holy fire light, and Vedic incantations should recite, and they must be rewarded for their vows with lavish gifts of food and milking cows. All should be fed with an especial grace, e'en as befits the outcast and the base. Then feed the cows with grass that welfare brings, then to the mountain make your offerings. After the feast, your persons ornament with fine raiment, gems, and fragrant ointment. Round the cows, the vipers, to celebrate the fires and hill circumambulate. This is, dear Father, my decided view. You may perform it if it pleases you. Let sacrifice to cows and Brahmins be, and to the hill, and that would well please me. Sri Shuka said, thus did the Lord, as one with time, deride Shakra in order to minish his pride, which Nanda, the cowherds having heard, they thought it well, and trusted in his word. Thereon they were eager to undertake whatever Madhusudana thus spake. They had the Brahmins Vedic hymns recite, and used the articles for Indra's right, and the tri-spawn the sacred tribute bring, then make to the mountain their offering. They fed the cows grass from abundant store, then driving the cattle wealth on before, the grand festivity they celebrate, and round the mountain circumambulate. The cowherd dames, well dressed and beautified, mounting on ox-drawn wagons forward ride. They sang of Krishna's deeds as on they went, which with the blessings of the tri-spawns blent. Then Krishna a colossal form assumed, and the tribute and offerings consumed, to fill the cowherds with wonder and dread, while eating, I on the mountain, he said. Then, saluting with the cowherds to conform, he bowed to himself in that other form, and said, see, the mountain is manifest to favor us with grace and make us blessed. This hill, assuming any form at will, the mortals who dishonor him will kill. Therefore, ye cowherds, let honor be shown to him for the cow's safety and our own. And thus the cowherds, with the tri-spawn's aid, by Vasudeva urged, sacrifice made to the mountain, then with his merry friends, the cows and cowherds back to Braja wends. Thus ends chapter 24. Now chapter 25. Now that would be you'd have a Swaramando. Sri Shuka said, when Indra knew his rights had been profaned, that his divinity had been disdained by Nanda and others on Krishna's hest, he was incensed, O king, by rage oppressed. He summoned devastating clouds of might, the world's destroyers, Samvartaka height, and sent them forth, raging with injured pride. And in his fury to the clouds he cried, oh, mark these cowherds in their insolence, these forest dwellers, proud of opulence, who taking mortal Krishna for their guide, the gods have thus offended and defied. that even those who rituals maintain like hypocrites, worship only in name, who forsake knowledge of divinity and hope to cross this existential sea. This Krishna is loquacious and puerile, most arrogant and obstinately vile, who, though mortal, considers himself wise, and has taught cowherds the gods to despise. They have by his urging offended me, and by this act done me an injury. These people in their affluence and pride, and urged on by Krishna, the gods deride, proceed, and their arrogance decimate, ruin their flocks and herds, and devastate. I will release the winds erstwhile confined, and follow on a rind. I will storm winds impetuous employ, and Nanda's cowherd settlement destroy. Sri Shuka said, the clouds, thus ordered by the god of rains, swelled in their rage and burst forth from their chains, and went to Nanda's cowherd settlement and poured the rain, the people to torment. The blustering winds urged clouds across the sky, the lightning bolts in 40 flashes fly, the thunder rumbles, resonating round, and bursts of hailstones crash upon the ground. Descending torrents of a column's girth relentlessly poured down upon the earth, which caused a devastating flood to flow, nor could be seen the high ground nor the low. The cows were by the wind and rain oppressed, the cowherds trembled and were sore distressed, the cowherd dames were by the cold distraught, and all Govinda's protection besought. They tried in vain their exposed heads to shield, and keep their children and themselves concealed, and much distressed by the wind and the rain, before the feet of the Almighty came. Oh, Krishna, Krishna, highly fortunate, our dear Lord and Gokula's potentate, you should from the god's fury save us, please, since you are always kind to devotees. Marking the hail, the violent wind and rain, the cowherds almost senseless in their pain, the Almighty One, after thinking, knew that all to Indra's injured pride was due. Since we, his sacred rites, have nullified, Indra seeks to destroy us in his pride, and thus does with untimely winds assail, with rainstorms unseasonable and hail. Well, as for that, as a matter of fact, by my own power I shall counteract, and teach those lords of the world who presume in folly false vanity to assume, and who by tyrannical sway disturb the world. I shall their vain arrogance curb. Since gods to sanctity should be disposed, deluded not by pride, to good opposed, my purpose is they must be rectified, and thus relieved of inordinate pride. My suppliants must therefore be restored to safety, who have me as their own Lord. I shall on my people comfort bestow. Indeed, I have made this my certain vow. Thus he, then with one hand he raised on high the mountain Govardhan into the sky, Thus Vishnu playful aspect did assume, and held it as a child holds a mushroom. Now the Almighty spoke in words like these: "Oh, mother, father, cowherds, if you please, enter beneath the mountain's cavity with all your cattle, wealth, and property. Fear not the rain, as I the mountain prop. I will not let it from my hand to drop. Enough of your terror and wild alarm. I assure you freedom from scathe and harm." On Krishna's word, they entered hastily a wide and commodious cavity. Their cows and wains and attendants convey, and free from fear under the mountain stay. Bearing hunger and thirst for their dear sake, although all thought of his own comfort did forsake, he stood there still and held for 7 days the mountain, while the people on him gazed. Seeing Krishna's power, Indra was dazed, astonished, and his vanity was raised. From his resolution he did desist, and then his devastating clouds dismissed. Now shone the sun, the wind and rain abate, and fleecy clouds disperse and dissipate. To all the cowherds now the storm had fled. The lifter of Govardhan to them said, "O cowherds, free from apprehensive woe, you may with your wives, wealth, and children go. Abated is the wind, the ground has dried, the streams into their wonted channels glide." Thereon the cowherds loaded each his cart with their effects, for wealth depart. The women, children, and the aged men with cautious steps began to follow them. Even the illustrious Lord of Grace, that is Bhagavan Api, put down the mountain in its proper place, while all beings saw him the mount restore with playful ease where it had stood before. The dwellers of the cowherd settlement, fraught with love and affection, were content to greet him with delight. They forward pace and strained him in their fond, eager embrace. The cowherd dames came forward to adore. They showered grains and curds and water pour, and with affection brought fine offerings, and conferred on him their choicest blessings. Yashoda and Rohini forward came, with Nanda and Bala of potent fame, and embrace him and his soft limbs caress, and with sincere, eager affection bless. The host of gods who in heaven abide, the Siddhas, Sadhyas, Gandharvas beside, the Charanas all dance, recite and sing, and send a rain of flowers, my dear king. Of conch shells and of kettle drums the sound through all the regions of heaven resound. Tumburu and Gandharva chiefs attend, and in song, O king, his praises commend. The loving cowherds surround him, O king, and with Bala the cattle forward bring. Then back to tending the cows they proceed, and praise the wonder of his mighty deed. The cowherd dames, as they homeward wend, sing of his deeds and his graces commend, which love and joy and happiness imparts, since he had deeply touched their tender hearts. Thus ends chapter 25. Chapter 26. Sri Shuka said, the cowherds saw with astonishment fraught the wonderful exploits by Krishna wrought. They could not comprehend such a display, and gathering together began to say, since this small child, soft and tender age, does in such wondrous enterprise engage, and therefore seems of superior worth, wherefore has he taken this lowly birth? How did this child of but 7 years stand, holding the chief of mountains on his hand, as if in play to exhibit his power, like a tusker plucking a lotus flower? When but an infant still with half-closed eyes, the wicked Putana came in disguise, but sucking at her breast her life was ta'en, e'en as time does youth from the body drain. Again, when a few months old, on a day, as the child underneath the wagon lay, and weeping with his tender toe, he spurned, and with a kick the wagon overturned. Once, sitting when he was but 1 year old, he was abducted by a demon bold, who, as a whirlwind, took him through the sky. But the child squeezed his throat and made him die. When stealing curds and cream he once was found, his mother to the grinding mortar bound, but he dragged the mortar with playful ease, and felled the two mighty Arjuna trees. Once, while roaming under the greenwood boughs, with Rama and the boys tending the cows, Baka, desirous to kill him, came, but tore him with his arm the beak of the crane. A demon in a calf's form, Vatsa height, with the calves mingled, in order to smite, but he was flung away with playful ease, and knocked down fruit from the kapita trees. Once Denuka the ass and all his crew he easily along with Bala slew, and flung them to the tree tops to repel their onset whence the mellow palm fruits fell. He had the puissant Bala in his might, the terrible Pralambasura might. He saved the cows and cowherds from dread dire by swallowing a raging forest fire. The mighty serpent with poison endued and dreadful fangs was by this child subdued, and banished from the lake back to the main, and made Yamuna's waters clean again. Oh, the love, O Nanda, we bear for his sake, and all the cowards never could forsake. His natural love and affection flow towards us constantly. How is it so? How can this boy of 7 years compare with the great mountain which he raised in air? Therefore a great doubt with us has begun, O coward chief, regarding your dear son. Sri Nanda said, O cowherds, attentive, hear what I say, and all your doubts and scruples put away. I shall repeat what Garga said before regarding this my child in days of yore. Garga said, this younger is in each age incarnate, once red, once white, then yellow alternate, and now he has assumed a sable hue, therefore as Krishna shall be known to you. From Vasudeva on a time he came, and your son will bear Vasudeva's name, with many names by deed and virtue shown, suggestive of his form and beauty known. By diverse names the people will him call. I know some, but they are not known to all. This gladsome child shall afford you content and fortune to the cowherd settlement, and by his influence you shall with ease surmount your sorrows and your miseries. O Lord of Braja, when evil prevailed, on anarchic thieves the good always assailed. This child gave succor to the pious men, and thus established righteousness again. Whoso by fortune has love for this boy, no wicked adversary can destroy. e'en as those who on Vishnu's side remain, their safety and prosperity maintain. Therefore, O Nanda, cherish and hold dear this child, for he is Narayana's peer in glory and renown and quality. Therefore, you must protect him cautiously. Thus, at that time, had Garga informed me, and I returned home in deep reverie, that Krishna, who our safety doth impart, of mighty Narayana is a part. Thus Nanda Garga's statement did recite, which afforded the cowherds vast delight. Their doubts were gone, their spirits were restored, and Nanda, along with Krishna, they adored. What time the angry god poured down the rain, deeming that his rights were held in disdain. The hail and thunder, winds and lightning sent the cowherds and their women to torment, and herds of animals to decimate, which seeing the child waxed compassionate, and then a playful manner did assume, and with one hand plucked up like a mushroom the mountain to show honor and respect, and thus did all the cowherders protect. By this act of high magnanimity, great Indra was relieved of vanity. May he, the Indra of the cows, glorious, be propitiated and pleased with us. And thus ends chapter 26. And there's one more to finish this episode, chapter 27. Then I'll read the next short one, and then we'll leave it there. And then the next video will be the Rasa Panchadhyaya, 5 chapters of the Rasa Leela. So now, chapter 27, Sri Shuka said, Govardhan had been lifted and restored, and protection from the rain did afford. Now Surabhi, the mother of the kine, with Shakra came from Goloka divine. Repentant Indra, with shame sore oppressed, approached, knowing well that he had transgressed. In seclusion he bowed his head and then touched his feet with his sun-like diadem. Having thus heard and now seen Krishna's might, his own power subdued and put to flight, proud no more of world lordship, bowed his head and with palms joined together to him said, Indra said, Thou art the pure existence absolute, who penance, peace, and glory constitute. By thy supreme power illusory, the current flows urged by the gunas three. But thy self-refulgent bright radiance dispels restive passion and ignorance. All this does darkest ignorance confound, where fools are by the bonds of passion bound, and their latent desire pulls and draws, which is of metempsychosis the cause. But thy chastisement should be understood as inflicted on sinners for their good. As Almighty thou seekest all to bless, and art the guardian of righteousness. Thou art the Lord, the preceptor and sire of all the vasty universe entire. Thou art inexorable time revealed, who doth the great rod of chastisement wield, and thine own intent purpose to fulfill, thou makest incarnation at thy will, and the arrogant of their pride relieve, who vainly themselves as great lords conceive. World rulers are like myself, in haughty pride, like fools, have themselves misidentified, but seeing thou fearless in spite of time, their vanity and arrogance resign. And then the righteous path eager pursue, as that the noble devotees ensue. Thou dost chastisement on the vain direct, only for their relief and to correct. Plunged in delusion of pride in excess, inflated by my infatuated by my lordliness. I knew not thy power and dignity, and an offence have offered unto thee. It behooves thee to expiate the stain, and never may my mind be fouled again. Thou hast made incarnation on the earth, where burdensome demons have taken birth. At Hoaxer of inscrutable will, thou shalt the armies of the demons kill, and great welfare to the good who entreat thy grace, and serve thy lotus flower feet. Hail to the Lord illustrious, divine, to the great self and supreme male sublime. Hail Vasudeva, hail Krishna adored, all hail to him of Sattvatas, the Lord, to him who takes forms of pure existence, at will constituted of consciousness. Hail to the one who is the seed of all. Hail to the soul of creatures. All hail, O Almighty. With storms, my vile intent to devastate the cowherd settlement was due to my rights being put aside, which I took as an insult in my pride. Yet thou hast shown thy disinterested grace to thwart my enterprise, my pride efface, since thou art Lord and preceptor divine, the self of all. Unto thee I resign. Sri Shukra said. Thus Krishna, having been well glorified by the Lord of Clouds, was satisfied, smiling, comforted, and resonating like a cloud, he said, the illustrious one said, O cloud compeller, just to favor thee, thy sacrifice was disrupted by me. In pride indiscriminate thou wert blind, but now always recall me in thy mind. Those blinded by power and affluent see me not with the rod of chastisement, but when I show my grace compassionate, I cast him down from his exalted state. Therefore, O Shakra, back to heaven wend, and may all good fortune on thee attend. Conduct thy delegated tasks, abide in peace, without all vanity or pride. Now Surabhi, the mother of the kind, addressed Krishna in cowherd form divine, and with great respect unto him she bows, along with all her progeny, the cows. Surabhi said, O Krishna, Krishna, mighty mystic Lord, the soul and the cause of the world adored. O Achyuta, world Lord of majesty, by thy favor we have a Lord in thee. Thou art our worshipfulest deity. Be our Indra and world divinity. Bring welfare to the gods and please the cows, the holy men and Vipras of firm vows. Soul of the universe, thou takest birth to lighten the great burden of the earth. Now being ordered by Brahma on high, we shall conduct thy bathing, thy bath ceremony. Sri Shukra said. Thus Surabhi, Lord Krishna did invite, and bathed him in her own milk with delight. Airavata, the mighty tusker, rears his trunk, whereon the sky Ganga appears, he bears. Thus Indra with the gods and sages round, with sanctifying drops, Lord Krishna crowned. The mother of the gods, Aditi hight, and all the matrons observed the grand rite. And as the descendant of Dasarha famed, was anointed, and as Govinda named. There Tumburu, Narada, and the rest Gandharvas, Vidyadharas, Siddhas blessed, and Charanas all gathered in a throng and raised the glory of Hari in song, which all of the world removes impurity. The wives of the gods danced in ecstasy. The gods with all the celestial train, while praising, shower him with flower rain. All people felt the excess of delight in the three worlds at such wondrous sight. All graces and all blessings did abound. The cows from milky udders drenched the ground. The rivers flowed with fine flavors replete. The trees exuded streams of honey sweet. Unlabored orchards, fruits and flowers yield. The mountains showed their gems before concealed. During Krishna's bathing ceremony, O scion of the Kuru dynasty, O dear one, beasts gave up their savagery, sans their natural animosity. Thus Shakra, having worshipped reverent Govinda and the cowherd settlement, he took his leave, which Krishna did impart, then did with the gods to heaven depart. Thus ends chapter 27 and 28, the short one, and then I'll stop. Sri Badarayani said, so sometimes it says Sri Shuka said, sometimes it's Sri Badarayani said, and sometimes it's Rishi Uvacha, the Rishi said. So here it's Sri Badarayani, which means Shukadev, the son of Badarayana, which is another name of Vyasadeva. So Sri Badarayani said, Nanda, on the 11th lunar day, worshipped Janardhan in the prescribed way by fasts, and then before the morning beam, he bathed him in Kalindi's sable stream. Now Nanda bathed before the end of night, before the dawn had given forth the light. Then suddenly, for this venal offence, he was seized upon and conducted hence by a stern servant of the water god, Varuna, who took him to his abode. The cowherds, missing him, were terrified, and, O Krishna, O Rama, loudly cried. The Almighty, when hearing their lament, perceived the abduction, and straightway went to the presence and watery abode of Varuna, the mighty water god. Thus he, who relieves fear and suffering for his devotees, arrived there, O king. Observing that Hrishikesha had come and made his way into his watery home, he offered worship with pomp, delighted and joyous to behold his guest. He said, Sri Varuna said, Today I have the highest prize received, the purpose of my existence achieved, as those who serve thy feet, O Lord divine, attain the transcendental state sublime. All hail to thee, O illustrious Lord, to the Brahman, the supreme self-adored, the supreme self-adored. The Maya whereby the world is evolved has no trace in thee, ever uninvolved. This attendant of mine, the fool, knew not, and wrongly brought thy father to this spot. In ignorance this was performed, and thus thou shouldst forgive this crime and bear with us. O Krishna, deign to confer thy mercy, for thou art gracious and everything see. Here, O Govinda, is thy father. Go and take him home, who love thy father so. Sri Shuka said, thus Almighty Krishna was satisfied, the ruler of the rulers and the guide, and with his dear father he homeward went, which brought his relatives joy and content. Now Nanda was amazed at what he saw. To see the guardian god filled him with awe, and how that god with pomp and opulence adored Krishna with humble obeisance. while his attendants salutation make, and thus to his relatives none spake. Doesn't say what he said. The cowherds heard with curiosity, in anticipation of things to be, and began to think, will the Almighty Lord take us to his divine realm for reward? Thus the illustrious, who all things sees, perceived the musing of his devotees, and to fulfill the perfection they sought, compassionate, thus to himself he thought. The people urged by passions do not know, and by their deeds transmigrate high and low. To them reality is quite unknown, and aimlessly without a goal they roam. Thus thinking, the most merciful Hari induced the cowherds with their eyes to see his realm divine of transcendental light, beyond all darkness radiating bright. They saw truth and consciousness without end, the light of Brahman everywhere extend, which when sages are from the gunas free, in abstract contemplation always see. The cowherds in the Brahma lake were urged to take a dip, whereafter they emerged. They beheld Brahman, then came to the shore, where Akrura had his vision before. Nanda and all the cowherds were amazed, and in supreme felicity they gazed. There Krishna was worshipped as supreme Lord, and was with Vedic hymns and chants adored. Thus ends chapter 28 in book 10 of the great and glorious Bhagavata Purana, the text beloved of swan-like saints, sung by the son of Vyasa. Hari Om Tat Sat.
Wow. I will stop the recording. It was absolutely beyond delightful.
Great.
Wow.